real quick, these are the solutions to the entrance ticket that you guys did on Friday. So check and see how you did. All right. Let's get our notes set up. Okay, our learning target for today is I can solve multi-step equations by clearing fractions. Okay, so you should be kind of familiar with this process just because we did it with decimals on Friday. I just introduced it to you. Fractions, kind of the same thing. You're going to basically figure out what you can multiply both sides of the equation by to get rid of every single fraction in the equation. Okay, so let's take a look at an example and we'll work on it together. So 2/3 x plus 7/3 plus 5/6 is equal to 5/3 x. Okay? So what we're going to do, because this would be a lot of work if we didn't get rid of those fractions, okay? So we need to figure out what to multiply both sides by to get rid of all those fractions. And that is going to be the least common denominator. So you're familiar with the LCD, least common denominator, from just doing operations with fractions. If you add or subtract a fraction, you have to find the least common denominator before you can add and subtract them. Okay, so that's what you're doing here. Okay, so you're finding the least common denominator. In this case, what is your least common denominator going to be? Maddie? No? Sure. I just want the denominator. What denominator is the least common denominator? 3, no, because we want to get rid of all the fractions. If we multiply by 3, we're not going to get rid of that 6. Yeah, 6. Good. Who was thinking 6? Okay, good. If you weren't thinking 6, that's totally fine. Sometimes you just need to get a little memory jog here. So just like we did for the decimals, I'm going to multiply both sides by this. So we've decided that the least common denominator for this case is going to be 6. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply both sides by 6. Multiply this side by 6 and this side by 6. Okay? And when I do that, I'm going to get 4x plus 14 plus 5 is equal to 10x. Okay? Does anybody need me to show them how I did that? Or I'll just give you a second to look at it to make sure that you agree with me. Everybody simplifies their fractions differently. I basically cross cancel in my head, so I do 6 divided by 3 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Some people do 6 times 2 is 12. 12 divided by 3 is 4. So it just depends on how you like to approach it, but both will give you the correct answer. Now check it out. We have something that's so much easier to solve, you guys. This is going to be much, much better. Yeah, Elizabeth.
Wait, how do you do it? Like get to 4x plus 14?
Okay, so I multiply everything by 6. And so I'm basically just doing 6 times 2/3. And however you like to do that is fine. I usually do 6 divided by 3 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. But some people will do 6 times 2 is 12, and 12 divided by 3 is 4. So it just totally depends on which approach you prefer. What do you need, Miss Pondo? Oh, just hanging?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So now what we can do is we can combine some like terms here. So this is going to be 4x, and these constants can be combined. Okay. Once we have simplified both sides of the equation, we can move those variables over to one side. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides. Okay. And we'll get 19 is equal to 6x. And then we'll divide both sides by 6. And you can either leave it as an improper fraction or you can change it to a mixed number. So if you leave it as an improper fraction, it will be 19 over 6. If you change it to a mixed number, that should be 3 and 1/6. Okay. Now, you should have the ability to check your answer here, but if you are taking a quiz or a test or something, don't check your answer for this, okay? Go through your quiz or test and solve every single problem first, and then go back and check the answers of the problems that are easy to check. And then if you have additional time, then you can go back and check these. Because checking these is going to involve a lot of operations and fractions, and it's going to slow you down. And you need to use your time wisely, okay? So you should have the ability to, if you have time to, you should check your answer for this, but I would do it the very last thing, okay? Now, I will walk you through this check process though, just so that you can see how it's done. And you're going to want to, if you're going to check your answer, do the improper fraction. It will save you so much time because then you're not going to have to convert your mixed number into an improper fraction while you're solving it, okay? So we're going to plug the improper fraction in for x to the original equation. Okay. Now you can simplify this. You're going to multiply this and this. I'm going to do some cross canceling here. So this will be 19 over 9 plus 7/3 plus 5/6. There's nothing to cross cancel here, so this is going to be 95 over 18. Now, the best thing to do here is just to switch everything so it has a denominator of 18 so that it's easy to compare it, okay? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to multiply the top and bottom here by 2 to get a denominator of 18. So this will be 38 over 18. Multiply the top and bottom by 6 to get 18 here. So this is going to be 42 over 18. Silence it, please. Here, multiply the top and the bottom by 3. So this is going to be 15 over 18. And now we can make sure our answer is correct. They're all 18ths, so 38 plus 42 is going to be 80. 80 plus 15 is a 95. So you get 95 over 18 and 95 over 18. So we have confirmed that that is correct. And like I said, it takes a while. So if you do not have time on a test or quiz, hold off on that. Only do that if you have time. Okay? Okay, I want you guys to practice. So let me give you a problem to do. So you're going to have 1/4 x minus 5/4 plus 9 is equal to 1/2 x. Okay, before you get started, what's going to be the least common denominator here? Show me on your hand. Awesome. Go ahead and get started. It's 4. So we decided the least common denominator was 4. So we want to multiply both sides by 4. Okay, and then you're going to go through and you're going to distribute that 4 to everything. Okay, so 4 times 1/4 is 1, so I'm just left with x here. 4 times 5/4 is going to be 5, so this is -5. And then 4 times 9 is 36. Honestly, this is, right here is the most common mistake that is made, is people will forget to multiply the whole number also by 4. It has to be everything. Everything has to be multiplied by 4, okay? And then half x times 4 is going to be 2x. Everyone follow so far? Okay. Now I can combine my like terms here. So this is going to be positive 31. Now some people chose to subtract 2x from both sides. You can totally do that and you can get the right answer. But I would prefer, for myself, I would prefer to just subtract x from both sides because then I'm not going to be dealing with negative variables. Okay? So this is going to be 31, and then 2x minus x is equal to x. Okay. How'd you guys do? Good. Rocky. Still working on it. Okay. I am going to give you some time at the end of class to work on your homework practice, so I can come around and help those of you that are still not quite following what we're doing. But let's go ahead. I want to show you another couple examples that you're going to need to see. Okay, just looking at this problem, what is your least common denominator? 8, good, I see it, 8. So that means we're going to multiply both sides by 8. Okay, now here's the deal. When you have grouping like this, you're only going to multiply the coefficient of your grouping by 8, okay? And the reason you only multiply just this number by 8 is because this number will then be distributed later on to your x and your half. So you don't want to multiply the x and the half by 8, and then it is multiplied by 8 again once you distribute. So we only multiply, when we have any kind of grouping like this, you only multiply the coefficient by 8, okay? Not each individual number inside the parentheses.
But do you also multiply the 8 at the end?
Absolutely, yes, because it is not in the grouping, okay? So let's go through this. If we multiply 8 times 5/4, this will be 10, okay? And then we're left with x and 1/2, because remember, we do not multiply everything inside the parentheses by 8, only the coefficient of that grouping. And then 8 times 8 is 64. And then 1/8 times 8 is just 1, so you're left with x. Yes, Charlotte?
For the second step, can we change 1/2 to 1/5?
Absolutely. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Now that I've gotten rid of all my fractions and I remember to only multiply the coefficient by that 8, this is something I can deal with. Okay, so now I need to go through those steps. First, I need to distribute. Always distribute. So I'm going to do 10x, and then 10 times 1/2 is 5. And then this is 64 and x. Okay. After you distribute all of your grouping, then you are going to combine like terms. So this will be 10x plus 69 is equal to x. Now usually I would choose to move the variables over at this point that would make my variable term positive. But if I subtract x from both sides, I'm going to be left with 0 over here. And that's not a problem, like you can still solve it, but it just adds extra steps because then you have to move everything over back eventually anyways. So I'm going to subtract 10x from both sides. And I'm going to be left with 69 is equal to negative 9x. Then I'm going to divide both sides by negative 9. Okay. And I get this fraction. I'm going to turn it into a mixed number. So this is going to be negative 7 and 2/3. Okay. And really it'll be negative 7 and 6/9, but I just simplified it real quick. Okay. And I do want to do one more example though, so you can see a different type of grouping that you might also see on your homework today. Okay, and you will see it. Like it's important that you know how to do these. Okay, and that's when your grouping looks a little bit different. So you have 10x plus 2 over 2 equals 4x plus 1/4. Okay. First of all, what is going to be our least common denominator for this? 4. Okay, 4. That's going to, it's basically whatever you multiply it by to get rid of every fraction. Okay, now this right here is a grouping. It's a grouping, and it looks a lot different than this kind of grouping because there aren't parentheses, but it's still grouping nonetheless. So what we can do is we can multiply both sides by 4. And then we're going to be able to knock out that denominator, okay? So 4 divided by 2 is 2. So I'm going to have 2 out here. And then I'm going to switch my grouping to parentheses because that fraction bar is going to be gone. And I am going to show you in a little more detail what happened there too in just a second. Okay, so I end up with this. Now, let me show you. I'll show you up here. Because this usually confuses the bejesus out of everybody. Okay, so first of all, let's start with what we are given. This is 10x plus 2 is divided by 2. Okay. Well, when you're multiplying both sides by 4, it's basically 4 over 1. Okay. You can cross cancel here. So this will be 2 and this will be 1. So now you don't have denominators anymore, but you have 2 times this whole thing. So you'll get 2 times 10x plus 2. Okay, so that's one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it is, let's say that you have 10x plus 2 divided by 2. Well, whenever you divide by 2, it is the same thing as multiplying by a half. So instead of writing it this way, I could do it like this, a half times 10x plus 2. Okay, so dividing by 2 and multiplying by a half, same thing. And then what happens when you multiply both sides by 4 is 4 times a half is 2. Does that help a little bit to understand what's going on there? Okay, you guys aren't that convincing. All right, so I just wanted to show you just a couple different ways of looking at it. But basically what happens is you knock out that denominator and you're left with 2, and you still want to make sure that this stuff is grouped. Okay. And now we can simplify and solve it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute. So this is 2 times 10x is 20x, and 2 times 2 is 4. Okay. Now there are no like terms here, so I'm just going to start moving my variables over. So this is going to be minus 16x minus 16x. So 4x plus 4 is equal to 1. I'm gonna subtract 3 from both, or sorry, subtract 4 from both sides. I was one operation ahead in my brain because this is gonna be -3 over here. And then we have 4x and then equals -3. Divide both sides by 4. And you get x is equal to -3/4. Okay. And like I've said before, if you have time to check your answer, great. If you do not, on a test or a quiz, I would save that for the very end if you have time to check that answer. Okay. Any questions for me? I gave the last class the option of getting started on their practice or doing a practice up here, and they all wanted to start their practice in Otis. So I'm going to let you guys do the same. I'll walk around. I'll let you know when you need to pack up. Ask me any questions you have. When you're at home because my recordings are horrible. I always forget to stop them. Sometimes I run out.